Hi, my name is Lisa Lefevre, and I work at Recology, and I am the recycling manager, well, recycling / community relations manager. And I oversee our recycling facility there at Recology. I don't know if any of you have been down. We've had chamber mixers and stuff down there. And we do tours, so anytime that you are interested in coming down for a tour, we'd love to have you come down. It's always an eye-opener to people to see what actually happens to the stuff that they put in their blue toter. That's for adults, or I also do field trips for students, and had as much as I think probably 50 at one time, which is quite interesting, but fun. So, but part of my job is also outreach to the community, and basically what that is that's going out to educate businesses and the people who work at those businesses how to become better recyclers. And quite often people, have the misconception that, we just want people to recycle so Recology can make the money from it. But it's actually state mandated that every city in the state of California diverts a certain amount of material from their landfill. So what that means is everything that we used to throw away, we initially, 10, 15 years ago, had to divert 50% of that from the landfill to be recycled. And they're increasing that. I think by the year 2020, I want to say they want it to be at 75%. And Vallejo has achieved the 50%. It's a little bit over 50 right now, so we're doing good, but we have a lot further to go. And hopefully when we're able to start a food waste organics program, that's going to help quite a lot. And we've been working on that. It's a long permitting process, but we finally have the permit in place. And now it's just slowly starting it. We'll be starting it with businesses first and then residential customers. So slowly in the works there. So that's just a little bit of my background and what I do at Recology. And what I would kind of like to talk about today is the do's and don'ts, as I call them, of recycling. We get about 100 tons of material a day that comes in. We get material from Vacaville, Dixon, American Canyon, and Vallejo. And so quite often you'll see drivers come by, pick up, first perhaps your trash, and then another driver comes by and picks up your recycling and or yard waste. So you might get confused thinking, wait, they're dumping the trash or the recycling in with the yard waste, but they do come back to our facility and empty the yard waste or the recycling before they pick up your other toter. But quite often those are the same drivers, where a trash driver typically is somebody different, depending upon how many people we have out on vacation and then that type of stuff. So the material then comes back to our facility, and we at any given time have probably 100 to 150 tons on the floor waiting to be processed. And so to visualize that, that's probably when I left, a little while ago, the pile of recycling is definitely higher than the roof of this and larger than the length of this building. And I've got a crew of 25 people who sort through it, and they do a fabulous job. It's a hard physical, job, and part of it is mechanical. The first line, the material gets pushed up on a belt. Then there's what we call pre-sort belt, where people are taking off big pieces of cardboard, big pieces of plastic, any hazardous material or e-waste, or things that shouldn't have been put in the recycling bin to begin with. Unfortunately, we get a lot of that. And what people don't understand is if you put non-recyclables in your recycling toter, then we then have to pull it out. It's a harder job for the crew. And then Recology has to pay to take that to the transfer station in American Canyon, Napa. And so to help keep rates low, we try to encourage people to do a good job of recycling, so we don't have to spend the money to take it to the transfer station. Besides, that we do have to stay under a certain amount because we don't want a lot of trash because we are considered a recycling facility. So I brought some examples today of some interesting things that we get in the pile, but it's also some things that it's okay to put in the pile. And when I do this with kids, this is the part where they get to use their outside voice, and go, yes, it's recycling, or so you guys can jump in or not. glass bottle, of course, is recyclable. And this morning I just freshly pulled, I just kind of went through our pile and pulled stuff out. So glass bottles of any sort are recyclable. The types of glass that aren't recyclable would be window glass, dishes, glasses, auto glass, porcelain, that type of stuff would not go into the recycling toter. Strangely enough, where we may, Christmas lights were in there this morning. So this is a double whammy, because not only do you not put lights into your recycling toter, but it is May, but good for somebody cleaning up their house. You can dispose of these at our facility. We have a drop-off site Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's open between 8 and 4. You can drop off any e-waste, and e-waste is basically considered anything with a cord. Some of the strangest things we've had are a hospital bed, one of those ones that, and so we ended up, because most of that is metal, we just took the electrical part out and just recycled the rest as metal. But vacuums, microwaves, lamps, TVs, DVDs, DVD players, all those kind of things. And we get a lot of that. We ship out probably about 20,000 pounds of e-waste every 2 weeks or so. And so it's quite a lot. This is one of the tricky ones that can be a yes or no. So this is a paper egg carton. And so that would be yes, because it's made of paper. But at the store we also see this one's made of styrofoam. And so if it's made of styrofoam, it would be no. So it's not clear cut. You can't just say all egg cartons. It's the styrofoam would definitely be no, but paper is yes. And a lot of people think that this is cardboard, but really it's just paper. But either way, if it was cardboard or paper, it could still go into your recycling toter. Plastic. Any kind of plastic. We call these narrow neck jugs. So on the literature that I'll leave for you, it says number 1 through 7 with a narrow neck. What it just means is the neck goes in, from the stout bottom. And so that's shampoo bottles, soda bottles, these type of bottles, detergent bottles, any of that can. And we go back and forth. It used to be that you were supposed to remove the cap on water bottles and stuff like that, because the cap was made of a different plastic, and that was at least the theory behind it. It's twofold. We kind of ask you to take the lids off, because if you've ever been to our facility, there's a huge loader, and he's running over all this stuff and pushing it on the belt. So with the lid being on, when he runs over this, the air is going to go out and the lid's going to go flying, potentially could hurt somebody. But that's the reason. But this plastic can be recycled with this plastic just as well if it's not, taken off. Plastic bottle, of course, we know that those can be recycled. These can also be brought back to buyback centers, and a lot of people, do that. Plastic bags. I want to say this is almost the most what we call contamination that we get. And it seems like every place I go that it's an eye-opener to people that they can't put plastic bag. We put it on all of our literature and that type of stuff, but quite often people put their recyclables in their plastic bags and then dump it in the blue toter. And you got to give them credit. They think they're doing, the right thing. They're reusing a bag, right? So that's a good thing. But these type of plastic bags cannot be recycled at our facility. They can be recycled, but you wouldn't put them in your blue toter here in Vallejo or American Canyon, Dixon, or Vacaville. And a couple of the reasons is it takes a lot of plastic bags to make a shipment to ship it out. So that means we'd be storing them on site for an awful long time, and the weather would break them down, and they're pretty light, so they're not gonna weigh much. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Besides, we've got probably about 30 or 40 discs that spin around, so you can imagine this on a disc getting sucked in and getting wrapped around, which happens weekly because we get so many plastic bags. What I always suggest, of course, is if you can, don't even use a plastic bag. I carry the canvas bags in my car, and most of the time remember to take them out of my car and bring them into the store with me. Not all the time. But I try to encourage, people to do that rather than taking the plastic bags. If you're going to, take a plastic bag, then, people reuse it for stuff, or you can take them back to the grocery stores. I know Rayleigh's, Safeway, even Kohl's I saw will accept plastic bags back. So if you're going to use those, and I believe Napa County, now they charge you for a bag. All right, cans, any kind of tin cans, so tuna cans, dog cat food cans, soup cans, any kind of cans can go into your blue recycling toter. Newspapers, of course, newspapers and junk mail. That's what we get the most of, actually, is newspaper and cardboard. Those are the two highest things, tonnage-wise, that we get. And so all your junk mail, you remember, to go ahead and throw that into your blue recycling toter. You used to not be able to do that because of different kind of paper, or the windows and the envelopes. It doesn't matter. You can throw it in there. And, better yet is, they have the do not mail, get off the junk mail lists and stuff like that, that I actually have that information. If any of you are interested in it, I can email it to you. And I have to tell you, I did it, and you have to renew it every, I think, 4 or 5 years, but the junk mail is really reduced. Now, if you buy something online or mail order, then they sell your name and you're kind of starting all over. But what I really noticed is the ads that come once a week from the grocery stores and all that kind of stuff. If you look in the little small print on there, you can find a phone number. Aluminum cans are another thing that, of course, are recyclable. This is what we get the least at Recology, and the reason being is because people are taking those and buying them, or selling them back themselves. Both of these, for the most part, but the aluminum is definitely where the money is. But the good thing is that it's being recycled. And we actually I work with a couple schools and other organizations that I set them up for a recycling program, but purposely told them, if you want to take the cans and bottles and do those separately, we'd be more than happy to honor that, so you can make some money for your nonprofit or something. Detergent jugs, any type of plastic, basically. The only, I shouldn't say any type, but really the only thing is what we call film plastic, and that's a plastic bag. So wraps that come around, if you're buying cases of water or something, the plastic that goes around the cardboard in the bottles, that wouldn't be recycled. But this kind of stuff is. And again, this is what we call a narrow neck, plastic. So this can be recycled as well. Conditioner, face stuff, shampoos, even deodorant containers. They're not narrow neck, but that plastic is recyclable. Styrofoam. So we unfortunately get a fair amount of styrofoam, and one of the reasons is most of the time people have big pieces of it and they don't know what else to do with it. Their garbage is already full, so they just throw it wherever they can fit it in there. And but we really discourage people. Styrofoam is recyclable at a few places. The closest I know is a place down in the Stockton area. But it has to be what they call pristine condition. So it's really just for packing materials. It wouldn't be for food. So they want it clean. Like, I'm not even sure if this amount of dirt on there is too much for them, but definitely not your food containers. They don't want any of that. And again, this is kind of the same reason that we don't recycle it is for the bags, is it would take us a long time to get clean, pristine, and it's very light. Shipments to ship out, to go all the way to Stockton or something like that for a full load. But there are places on the planet that recycle. So that's kind of all the examples. But one of the things I want to point out where people kind of get a little confused sometimes is on most plastics you have what we call the chasing arrows. And that's just 3 arrows going around, and there's a number in the middle of it. So most people look at it and just say, oh, it's recyclable. Hi. And hello. And but what that number in there is telling you is it's the type of material that it's made out of. It's not necessarily that it's recyclable. It's, for instance, this is what's called HDPE, which is short for a really long word, type of plastic. So this is number 2. So in this case, it is recyclable, but just because there's the chasing arrows on there does not mean it's recyclable, because styrofoam will have those on it too. But so that's one of the things that people quite often get confused about. So at that, I will kind of open it up if you guys have some specific questions. Yes?
So at the office, we're having issues with coffee cups that they might purchase at a coffee shop like Starbucks or Peet's Coffee, and then the lid,
Yes.
and then they put in the recycle bin. Or when they purchase prepackaged salads, and they have those containers, and it has some film on top, and then the container. What do we do with those?
So the cups and the lids, it's okay. You know, we certainly, and we don't even advertise that kind of thing, but a little bit of that in with our stuff is fine. And for the most part, the paper is absolutely recyclable, and people drink most of their coffee, you know, so it's not gonna, when they throw it in there. That's one of the things when people throw a bottle or something in there, if there's still liquid in there, it can contaminate the rest of the material. So we always want to make sure that people dump that out beforehand. But yeah, the coffee cup and the lid, and especially the cardboard sleeve, you know, that can go around it. You know, again, what I kind of suggest to people, and I think even Starbucks, you mentioned Starbucks will do that, is you can bring your own cup, you know, instead of using a one-time cup. So that's always a good suggestion. The salad containers, are you talking about the plastic, just clear plastic? Yes, those can be recycled as well. And along with containers that have the black bottom and a clear top, something like that, that stuff can also be recycled. Yeah. Yes?
How about aerosol cans?
That's a tricky one. So aerosol cans, if they're completely empty, what did it have in it?
Shaving cream.
Okay, if they're completely empty, then yes, that's fine. Aerosol can with paint or some kind of chemical in it, no, we would suggest you take that down to the household hazardous waste facility on the border of Napa and American Canyon. But shaving cream, yes, if it's empty, that's fine.
You know, compostable forks, spoons, things like that.
So, yes and no. We're currently working on a food program. However, where we take the stuff, they're having a hard time with that type of material, because it's advertised as compostable, and at some point it probably will break down, but it doesn't happen very fast, and it's not as bad as plastic, and it's good that they're using a food base. Most of them are potato or corn base that they're making that with. But, so I would say no for our composting, program somewhere. I'm not sure, are you in Vallejo? Okay. So that would be a no for now. It might change as more of those start, to be on the market. Then they might be able to find some better way to do it. I went on a tour of our composting facility up at Hay Road in Vacaville. And it's an amazing process that they have for composting. So I don't know if you guys have ever experienced something like that, but it's quite like our facility where the mixed recycling like this comes, where it just comes in, everything's mixed in a truck, it gets dumped on the floor, and then it gets separated. So up there, it's all this yard waste that comes in, or food waste, and everything's mixed, and it goes through like 3 or 4 different stages, where you see this one pile of, say lawn trimmings, brush, weeds, some food maybe mixed in there. And then they sort through that, because unfortunately, just like at our facility, there's also contamination. They have a problem with lots of plastic and glass in their stuff. And, but it goes through these 3 or 4 different stages. So if you can kind of visualize, yard waste and brush kind of dying and breaking down to ultimately this end product that's this real deep, rich, dark brown, that it's beautiful. It's, to even pick it up in your hands and know that it started, from a pile that had just a mixture of stuff, and to this rich, deep, dark soil. So I strongly encourage you, to compost, when you can, and hopefully we're going to be able to offer that to residents, very, actually, it's not going to be very soon, but it will be starting with commercial customers, and it's my hope that within a year we can move that to residential customers. So that was a long answer, but I wanted to get that in about the compost because it's quite an amazing process to watch. So for now, it would be no to the compostables. And, again, the alternative, because you think you're doing the right thing, then when you're using the compostables. And so it would be, to use the real, silverware and just throw it in the dishwasher to wash it, or something.
So for now, those go in the garbage can?
Those go in the garbage can, yeah. Yes.
When paper is being recycled, do you prefer people throw it in complete, or sometimes people want to tear it up into small pieces?
No, it's actually better when it's thrown in just like this. Nowadays, so many people are shredding because of identity theft that you can see a trail all over our yard from all the shredding stuff. And so, a wind, Vallejo gets windy, certain times of the year. And what happens in our facility is the shredding ends up going to what we call our glass screen. So it's this metal screen that has about 14 rows of metal discs, and the glass falls on it and breaks the discs, and then it falls through the holes down to a separate bin. Well, you go and you look at that bin, and you would think that it's shredded paper or bones or bottle caps, because all the little stuff falls down in there, but by weight, it's mostly glass. But the shredded paper, so we have this high-tech system where the glass falls into a bin, but before it reaches the bin, we have an industrial fan that's blowing all the shredded paper out of the glass bin, and then, so we can still recycle that paper. But, so absolutely, we prefer it in big, full-size, but we understand people are shredding now, and I'm certainly not discouraging anybody from shredding. I shred a lot, because of the concern with the identity theft. And that's, and another topic is that we've gone back and forth with what to do with your shredded, paper, how to recycle that. And initially it was like, well, we'll put it in a paper bag. And now we're okay with either putting it in a paper bag or a clear plastic bag. Because a clear plastic bag, the people on the sorting line can look at it and, oh, this is recyclables, instead of thinking it might be household trash or something. Because you got to, remember, we're processing 80 to 100 tons a day, and a lot of people are putting plastic bags in there. And so if the sorters have time, they tear them open to see if there's recyclables in there. But if there's not time, or shorthanded or something like that, sometimes good recyclables just end up going to the trash. But if it's in a clear plastic bag, then we know it's shredded paper, and we can put it with the paper.
So out of curiosity,
Yes.
does it make it easier on that end to put even our trash in clear plastic bags?
No,
No.
no. Because, well, your trash, yes, but not your recyclables. So I automatically went to recyclables. So yes, if you're talking about trash, I have my trash in a bag and then dump it because it's going to make less mess. But the recycling, no, the recycling should just go into the toter, just free.
No bag, okay,
Right,
understood.
yeah. Because then the time, opening all of those bags up and then disposing of those plastic bags is another story. Yes.
Used pizza boxes.
Okay, there's another one. That's like the milk or the egg carton. So my kind of theory is that if you have a used pizza box and 50% or more is clean, go ahead and throw it into the recycling toter. If it's really gooey and sticky, and greasy, then it would go in the trash. Or if you're like me, soon in your composting. If you're like me, if the bottom's gooey and greasy, I might just tear the lid off and put that into my recycling, and then throw the other one away. That's a little crazy, but you are absolutely right that once we are able to get the composting program up and running, then that type of stuff, napkins, paper plates, paper cups, pizza boxes, will all go into with the food because it will all break down.
When composting is implemented here, will you be making available separate bins for that?
Yes, so what, one of the holdups is we won't be offering indoor, for on your counter. Those would be things that you would get yourself, but it will go into your green yard waste toter. And so it will just get mixed with that. And where the holdup or what we're looking at now and trying to figure out is composting is actually more expensive than taking your trash to the landfill. So this is where the holdup is. We're trying to figure out how we can offer this to our customers without a large increase into the rate. So right now, the stuff that you put in the yard waste bin, just the shrubs, the lawn trimmings, tree trimmings and stuff like that, there's one price for that. You start putting food in with that, and the price goes up. So we're trying to, again, figure out how to make this fair, because people are still going to use their yard waste for yard waste. And so, how do we say, well, all that's food, so we have to charge you the food rate? So, we're talking with the city and trying to figure out how we're going to be able to implement something like that. And the reason that the food is more expensive is that there's more processes that it has to go through. And that's been besides the permitting process, now that we're done with that, that's been some of the problems that we're trying to, work through to figure out how we can implement that and, without raising the prices too much. We know that the price is probably going to have to go up because it's going up to us. But we're trying to keep it, to a minimum. Yes.
So is that part of that mandate that we have with 75% is compostable part of that mandate, or is there a different policy for that?
So that can be included as diverting, the material, but there was, as of April 1st of this year, any business that created 8 yards or more of organic waste needs to have a composting program. That's a mandate from the state of California. So that's not an easy thing to figure out, because let's say you had an 8-yard bin, and we emptied it once a week of garbage, which of course you don't here, but let's say you did. That doesn't mean that you automatically have to have a composting program, because it's if you have 8 yards of organics in there. And of course, we don't know, you don't know how much of that garbage is, food waste. So it's a process we're trying to figure out. Most people that are going to qualify for that right now are your bigger stores, your Walmart, Costco, maybe some of the bigger buffet type restaurants and stuff like that. Those are the people who they're probably at the 8 yards right now. Now with each year over the next couple of years, that's going to go to 6 yards to 4 yards to where it is automatic, be mandatory, for everybody. But right now it's easing into the process. Any other questions or anything that you think I forgot to mention?
Curiosity,
Yes.
phone books. Have you seen a reduction in phone books in the recyclable bin?
Absolutely,
Oh,
yes.
good, okay.
Yeah, we, I never didn't really think of it until you just mentioned that, and then it's like drastically seen a difference in them.
Hopefully it's because not too many people are getting those
Yes.
phone books.
It seems like though I end up with a new one, because now there's 2 or 3 different people who put them out, and honestly I think a couple of times a year I have a new one in my driveway. I've never requested one, but there's a new one in my driveway.
We get one probably once or twice a year, and it goes from the driveway to the recycle bin.
I'm one of those people that actually still use a phone book. Do you too? I do not often, but it's more because I forget that the phone, I can just, ask, the phone, but I tend to go to the phone book first, and it's only if I'm out and about that I realize, I can do this on my phone too. So I'm a rarity when it comes to that, though I know that most people...
I don't feel bad having this if you're still using the phone book.
Good point. Well, okay, the difference between that is the phone book is delivered to me unasked. I just get it, so I might as well make use out of it, right? But no, you don't need to feel bad. I go and do that and feel a little bit bad, you know, but then I do recycle it. So, and that's one thing that I want to add is recycling is kind of the last choice. You know, it's the whole 3 R's, the theory of the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle, is first, we try to reduce our consumption, you know, and that just comes from, you know, packaging, you know, eating, shopping, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know, just be aware and try to take something that's, you know, a lot of times we buy some gadget and it's this big, but it's got this much, you know, packaging. And, you know, they say that, you know, if we let these manufacturers know, hey, I'd really like to buy your product, but can you reduce, you know, the packaging? And some of them have done that, you know, they've gone from plastic stuff to the packaging that at least is, you know, easier to recycle. But so reducing is that, and then reusing, of course, you know, what I tell the kids at the school when I go to give presentations is, you know, they're at that age where clothes, you can share, you don't throw it away if they're, you know, if it's still in good condition, you can share it, you know, with your siblings or your friends or donate it or something, and that goes with, you know, books, you know, or purses or hats or shoes. And so it's the reduce, the reuse, and then the recycle. If you can't do either one of those two, then you recycle it. Because recycling does use, you know, resources too. You know, it's, you know, our trucks are going back and forth on the street, we have equipment, and that kind of thing.
Speaking of clothes, do you not want to see clothes in the recycling bin?
We don't want to see clothes, and we see a lot of clothes. Yeah, we do. We really do. For a while, I donated several toters full to a lady who did some great creative things with denim. And we don't want to see clothes. And so, you know, again, if you can, I see a lot of the kiosks just around, you know, where they accept clothes, or, you know, any of the consignment stores, or like St. Vincent's or Salvation Army. What's the one on Mare Island that I'm trying to think of? The Resource Center.
Yeah.
There, I just drew a blank. There's the Christian.
Success.
Global Center for
Yes,
Global Center, yeah.
Global Center for thank you. And Christian Help Center is where I, you know, sometimes bring, you know, clothes or that type of stuff. We even bring leftover food to the Christian Help Center if we've had a work event or something like that. So hopefully, I mean, that's my preference, is that I try to give it away to somebody that could really need it, rather than them having to buy it. But either way, if it can be reused. But
what should people do with like old sheets that are torn or something of that nature?
Well, if you can't use them for, you know, rags or anything, you know, like that, then it would be, you know, to your garbage. There used to be, I don't know if it still exists, something called Free Cycle. And it's a website, you go on, and it still exists? Okay. And you can localize it to your area. And if you have stuff you want to get rid of, you know, because a lot of people, like maybe somebody that's going to do a painting project or something would be interested in that. You post it on there. It's kind of like eBay or Craigslist, but I think all the stuff is free. And you just put it outside at the curb, you know, and somebody will come by and take. I've seen a head of lettuce on there before. But it's been a couple years since I've been on that, but it still exists.
So for example, even like if you have leftover food or even hair dye, people will just say you just have to pick it up, you'll put it outside your front porch, there's no communication between the person, they'll pick it up and take it. Toys,
Yeah.
books, it's a great resource.
And it seems to go pretty fast. Yes.
What do you do when people throw mattresses and furniture out on the street?
Well, we with the city, we have an agreement with the city of Vallejo of a illegal dump, is what that's called. So sometimes city workers go and pick it up. Sometimes, depending if our driver has some help with them, he might pick it up. So between the two of us, we try to, you know, pick up, and unfortunately, there's a lot of that, you know, going on. It's not exclusive just to Vallejo. There's a lot of it going on. We probably have a city personnel coming down at least 2 times a week with truckloads of e-waste or mattresses, furniture, that kind of stuff that they've picked up. And, you know, the unfortunate thing is a lot of that stuff instead of throwing it, illegally dumping it, you can come and bring it to our facility. Not the mattresses and the tires, but all the e-waste that comes in. Anybody can come bring that to our facility. There's no charge whatsoever. You just come in Thursday through Saturday between 8 and 4.
How do you process mattresses and furniture?
So we don't do that at our facility because we're a recycling facility. So if we pick that stuff up, we take it to the transfer station, American Canyon in Napa. Now starting, I believe it was January of this year, there's a new mattress recycling format where in Napa is one of the places where you can go and drop off a mattress. And I want to say there's no charge for mattress for that, and it will be recycled rather than going to the landfill. So a company has dropped a big van there, and it gets filled up, and they will actually come take it away and recycle it. So that's good.
Can I just say one thing about the styrofoam?
Mm-hmm.
So what you need to do is when you have the styrofoam in good package, you call Recology, let them know that you have styrofoam, and they will let you know how many bags, which I know that the most they can pick up is 3 bags. You put it outside next to the recycling bins, and then they'll take it. So don't put it in the trash, right?
Exactly,
I
exactly.
need to free cycle, because I got rid of a ton of styrofoam with people who were making weapons and stuff for sets, plays and stuff like that. They needed packing material.
Oh.
I had a ton of it
That's-
because
That's a good thing to know then. That's an even better, because then
Yeah.
somebody's,
Something to use.
reusing it, yeah. And, something that seems weird to us, somebody's always looking for something different or strange or, something. So that's a great, I'm glad to know that Free Cycle still exists, because it's been several years since I've gotten on there.
did I see something about you can't recycle wire coat hangers? Or plastic for that matter.
So the material is recyclable, but putting it in your blue toter doesn't work because it wreaks havoc on our system. I know there used to be, so if you take your clothes to cleaners or whatever, they were interested in having them back. And maybe if you don't even use a dry cleaners, but you might be you might stop by one of them and see if they will take them to reuse them. We get them in our recycling bin, both those and the plastic. And like I said, the material is recyclable, but it does cause problems with our system. So I don't have a good answer for that.
So what about I've got
Free
an
cycle again, maybe.
I've got an old faucet with a broken handle I don't know what to do with. Would that be considered industrial?
Is it metal or plastic
It's
or?
stainless and old and...
Can you take it to the rehab store?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they've got
I
that.
got that, the rehab
Right
in
in.
Fairfield,
Mhm.
so anything, appliances or.
Habitat for
Well,
Humanity.
everything, You just call them up and they take it.
Habitat for Humanity. It's right there by Scandia, kind of close to Scandia.
Or free cycle.
Oh, free cycle.
Like, they have a project and it's like, I could use
Yeah.
that. No? That shit.
No, the stem has to be replaced. It's,
And they'll do that, the store.
Mhm. So, and that's the thing is that, and one of the great things about the internet too is you can go on and you search on a lot of these things, and that's how I found the free cycle. And the state used to also have something for construction, bigger like big pieces of concrete or that type of stuff, and it was very similar to free cycle. And I can't remember the name of it yet, but if you guys have any, big projects going on, get in touch with me and I'll get the name of the website for you. Anything else? All right. So I'm gonna leave you with these, and I call them the do's and the don'ts of recycling, and they're in English and Spanish on the back, and it gives a brief rundown of what can and can't go. So what can go for glass is in black, what can't is red, and so it's got it for glass, plastic, metal, and so on down there. But you brought up a good thing that I just want to close with is for anybody that lives in Vallejo and you live in a house setting rather than an apartment, with your trash service you get what's called a bulky item or 2 bulky item pickups a year. So that means if you're cleaning house, you're getting a new couch or a new refrigerator or something, you call the main office and you can say, hey, I've got a washer and a dryer that I want to get rid of, and it's 2 yards for each bulky item pickup. If you wanted to use them both at the same time, you can do that too. And we'll come pick it up free of charge. You would just call them, let them know exactly what it is that you're gonna put out there, and then they'll send a driver out on your normal pickup day to pick it up. And you get 2 of those a year that will come by and do that.
At no additional charge.
At no additional charge. For if you're a Vallejo customer, yeah. Yeah, that's included, and a lot of people don't realize that, so. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for being interested.
Yes, it's cheering.
Maybe find some styrofoam to buy.